if I could like sum it up in one statement, Greg, I think it's that he needs more than I can give him.
Okay.
Yeah. This guy's got a great base for training that his original owners gave him in terms of basic obedience.
Okay.
And I've seen him be able to follow obedience commands when he's super anxious and nervous.
Oh,
and
really?
just like his energy level's through the roof, and he will still stop and listen to me when I tell him to sit.
Really?
Yeah. So
wow.
a little background on this guy is like even this, like if I just tell him, Hank, slow down, he'll slow down with me. Which is kind of amazing for a young GFP.
Oh, definitely.
And I've had him for a click under 2 weeks.
Okay.
And he almost started listening to me automatically. Now when he has that super high anxiety, he's nervous, and as he's kind of tested boundaries at the house, he'll have a harder time doing that. But to give you a reference point, it's a good reference point. I have a 9-month-old and 11-year-old. He was never a threat around them.
Okay, good.
So
good.
his demeanor around kids is great. He had a little bit of the nervous nipping the last 3 days, but I think that felt more like the normal like boundary testing behavior after being with us a little bit.
Okay.
And kind of seeing what he could get away with.
Is that more of a play, or is that more of a...
It felt more like that nervous, uncontrollable energy that he was getting by being cooped up.
Okay.
And more of the boundary testing and maybe getting used to being around the house.
Okay.
But never threatening, or I never felt worried about the kids.
Okay, good.
And I tend to be pretty like, what do you see? What do you see?
Oh, there's some birds in the trees. We don't want to go up those stairs?
Sure.
No, we don't want to.
Oh, we do not. Oh, sorry.
It's a pond.
Is it? Okay, yeah. Yeah, I think he's pretty comfortable with water too, so that's actually smart.
I can already see that would be
Yeah. That's the other thing. His hunting instincts are really strong.
Okay.
This guy is like, my wife was teasing me since day one, because I'll take this guy outside. Sit. Let's show off a little bit, buddy. Lay down. Lay down, Hank. Lay down. Oh, good boy.
That's pretty good, because he sees those birds in the trees over there.
Yeah.
We can walk over there.
Yeah, let's do it.
It's a little quieter.
My wife Janie would always tease me because I'd come back from taking him out like off leash, exploring in the fields, and this guy's magnificent. And really? I mean like he's magnificent in the field. Listens off leash. They gave me a easy educator collar that I'd use on him just for the vibrate function.
Right.
And if he got super hyped, flushing birds out, if I hit that and just called his name, he'd come back to me. So he is, like, every time I come back, I say, man, this guy's a beauty when I take him out. Play fetch, he's super fun, he'd listen well.
So you don't think you're giving him what he needs?
Yeah, so let me give you a little background and then what led up to us adopting him. His original owners got him from a breeder for a reduced cost because he was the runt of the litter. I don't know if you'd say he's a little small for a male, but...
He's a little small, but it's hard to say. He's under a year, so...
Yeah, they said he's about 20 months. He's going to be 2 in February.
Oh, he's going to be 2? Oh,
yeah.
Okay, I thought when I looked at him, I thought, well, maybe he's younger, and I don't remember that right.
He might be, but they said he's, I think that's what they told me.
Yeah, they're usually full grown in a year, so...
So they had him in like an 800 square foot house. 2 young business owners, no kids. Great couple. I think everything they told me was true to how they experienced Hank, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And then when I got Hank, I think he was just a different dog with different needs, on top of the normal like anxiety of being in a new home. But they, after I guess, 20 months, they decided that Hank needed more than they could give him. So they had freight trained him, worked with a trainer out of Oceanside, I think. Sit, bud. Good boy. And they just admitted that they weren't giving him the kind of exercise that he needed. I think the yard was like a 10 by 40.
Oh, wow.
So he was kind of going nuts. And the way that I came in contact with him, oddly, was through Craigslist, which is like...
So we just, like, anytime I see that, I usually just email. I was like, you really want to be really careful.
Yeah.
I mean, they got lucky when they found you.
They got really lucky twice. Wait till I tell you the story. They got lucky twice.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Yeah, when I told Cindy, she was like, automatically, she was like, who knows if anything they said was true. I was like, well, they seemed really genuine. I think it is. And when you meet Hank, I think you'll believe it more. But sit, bud. Sit. Sit. Good boy. Good boy. So anyways, they had tried to get him connected with a doctor who was a hunter who had a small slip of property out in Ojai. And this is what they shared with me when we made contact. And he had him for, I think, 6 days, and he called and said, I got to bring him back. And what they shared with me was that they brought him out here, dropped him off. It seemed to be a good meeting. The doctor took him home, had him on the property with his wife who worked from home, and he would go in for 2-day shifts at the hospital.
Okay.
So, and what they told me was that all he said was that my wife just can't handle being around him. And so I was like, does that mean she didn't know about GSPs? Was it like the normal, like, oh my gosh, this dog's a hot rod? Or was he really like anxious and acting out because he was scared in a new environment, yada, yada, yada. And they didn't really have the full story. So I said, look, I've had another GSP, which I had. I raised another pup and had her till she got nose cancer. And so I said, I get that. If it's a matter of him just being a regular GSP, then I understand those kind of challenges. And the way they described him, the way they experienced him was that he was actually on the more reserve side for a GSP. So they had him crate trained. He would crate himself at the end of the night. If they took him out, they said he'd have that like big burst of energy in the afternoon. And then in the morning and the evening, he could be more on the lazy side for a bird dog.
Okay.
And so I said, okay, that's great. Because I have about a 4th acre backyard, 2 mini goats, and another resident pup who's real social. And I thought, well, that works out pretty well. I'm home 4 days a week. But when I got Hank, he kind of was different. I think some of that was anxiety. But like his rhythm has been, he's had 3 really big bursts of energy every day.
Okay.
First thing in the morning, late afternoon, and then probably like 7 to 8:30ish, he'll get real big bursts.
Okay.
And so there was that, and I could tell that some of it's anxiety because his eating's been off.
Okay.
He's been drinking water well, but like they said, for instance, he'll eat 1.5 cups of food 2 times a day. He's like a vacuum cleaner.
Okay.
And I think that's true because I've seen him do that sporadically. But then other times when he eats, he'll be like 3-4 hours to eat his food.
Okay.
So when I got him, it was like, okay, this is different than what you described. That was naive on my part. Looking back, I should have been more prepared for that. But the more that I had him, the more I realized I think this guy needs more training than I can give him with more space. Like the more I have him, every time I take him outside, we'd have him in the house. Oh yes, oh yes. I know.
That might be a squirrel.
Yeah.
Every once in a while.
Come here. Let's walk over here. The more I'd have him outside, the more I'd be like, this guy's a beauty. He's like everything you want in a GSP. Especially with the command training. The basic command training is good. But then when I'd have him in the house, he'd just get more and more anxious and more tense. He'd start acting out more. Yeah, let's go. Come here. Come here, bud. Good boy. Hank's a good boy. Hank's a good boy. I took him for some runs. So I did all the stuff that like would ease some of that anxious energy and tried to spend a lot of time with him. I'd run him in the morning, take him out, let him off leash at least once a day, and then 2 dedicated times of being outside and playing. They said that they had experiences where they took him onto a couple of different properties and he was around livestock and that he was always good around the livestock. That was definitely not the case.
Oh, really?
Being around the mini goats really brought out a strong predator drive in him.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's just like, because I haven't had as much time with him as I'd like, it's hard for me to make real sense of that.
Okay.
That may be situational. Because he seems to be so responsive to training and commands.
Right.
My gut instinct, like when I was talking over with Janie trying to work out a plan to keep him, I would tell her, like, I think if we had the time, I think we could train him into that. But I think it'd take a long time. I think it was a bit, to be honest with you, I think it was a bit naive for me to try and introduce him to a dog and livestock. And because of the way our home is set up, it was kind of like all or nothing.
Okay.
Sit. Sit. Good boy.
Now, he had issues with your other dog?
He did.
Okay.
Which was I'm actually more optimistic about him around other dogs than I am around livestock.
Okay, all right.
We had so I had him with about 6 or 7 play times.
Okay.
The first 3 were the worst. And Ozzy is a little Aussie doodle, about 30 pounds.
Okay.
Really playful.
Okay.
And Troy, the original owner, had told me, like, Hank's the kind of dog, if he gets bum rushed, he'll respond defensively.
Okay.
But if he gets a slow introduction, he does real well.
Okay.
And I think that proved true overall. I think more than anything, my hunch is that it was more, his anxiety of a new environment, a new dog all at once.
Right, right.
Because then after about 3 times, they had a couple of really good play sessions where they chase each other around, sniff each other, and then they'd be there playing with toys in the same area. And the only thing that I noticed is, especially with Hank, like, it seems like he has a hard time knowing when to back off with play.
Okay.
So like their run-ins all happen when the smaller dog would be playing, jumping, pouncing, nipping, all playful stuff, and then chasing, and then Hank would just be on him all of a sudden, and he'd just hit the throttle and he wouldn't back off.
Okay.
So we'd separate him, like, it just never felt like dangerously aggressive. When I'd step in and separate him, he'd listen.
Right, right.
And he'd let me pull him off.
Okay.
Do you want to play with him off leash at all, or you want to keep him on?
It's up to you. I normally don't, because
Okay.
I don't know.
That's fine.
I've had people take them off leash and we ended up trying to find them. So
Yeah. If you don't need it, that's fine. Yeah.
yeah, I don't. Yeah.
Okay.
Good boy, you're such a good boy.
So you say you introduced him 6 times. The first 3 he behaved like that. You think it's more anxiety?
I do.
Okay.
I think with good training, I think he'd do real good around other dogs.
So
And they reported that as well. But the thing that's hard to tell with Troy and Fran is, I think what they say is 1,000% true for them in their experience.
right.
But he also was with them from, since he was a pup in their small home with no other dogs, no animals. So I think like outside of anything that they might have done on like a short visit, a couple-day visit or something,
Right.
and whatever this doctor might have done, I think living with me was his first real introduction to multi-animal environments.
Okay. Okay.
But again, my hunch is, you'll see it when you get to know him. He's such a good boy, and he tries so hard to listen. But I think I don't know. I feel like he could be trained to do anything. He's really smart. I know GSPs are super smart, but he feels smart for a GSP. Sit, sit, sit.
That's pretty good. Even just with
Watch.
you can
Shake.
see-
Lay down. Lay down. I know, that's a lot, buddy. I know, it's a lot. You're gonna love him. Honestly, it's heartbreaking to have to bring him, but like in my gut, having had another bird dog with 2 kids at home in the environment he's in,
Yeah.
I told Janie the other day, I said, look, if you guys didn't exist, we'd keep him and make it work, and he'd be fine and we'd be happy in the long run. But since you guys exist, I'm like, he deserves a life that he could have space and really flourish, and I think there's just a better home for him. There's no,
Well, so let me tell you a little. I mean, you know some of the process.